The issue of animal rights has long been a subject of heated debate among individuals and organizations worldwide. On one side, there are those who advocate for the ethical treatment of animals, arguing that they are capable of experiencing pain and suffering and therefore deserve certain rights and protections. On the other side, there are those who believe that animals are inherently inferior to humans and that their interests can be overwritten by human needs and desires. Proponents of animal rights argue that animals possess their own inherent value and have the right to be treated with respect and compassion. They contend that animals are sentient beings capable of experiencing pain, pleasure, and emotions. Therefore, subjecting them to unnecessary suffering, such as in factory farming or animal testing, is morally wrong. These advocates often emphasize the need to protect animal habitats, promote conservation efforts, and transition towards cruelty-free alternatives in various industries. However, those who oppose animal rights argue that animals are not equal to humans and do not possess the same moral status. They believe that humans have the right to use animals for their own purposes, whether it be for food, clothing, entertainment, or scientific research. These opponents often prioritize human interests and argue that the benefits derived from exploiting animals outweigh any harm caused. They cite the necessity of medical advancements, economic considerations, and cultural practices as justifications for their position. One of the key areas of controversy within the animal rights debate is the issue of animal agriculture. Advocates argue that factory farming and intensive animal husbandry practices inflict immense suffering on animals, often confining them to cramped and unsanitary being sought. They assert that transitioning towards plant-based diets and supporting sustainable farming methods can help alleviate animal suffering, reduce environmental impact, and promote healthier lifestyles. Contrastingly, opponents argue that animal agriculture is a necessary industry for meeting the growing demand for food worldwide. They emphasize the economic benefits it provides, the importance of livestock farming in certain regions, and the nutritional value of consuming animal products. They contend that improving animal welfare standards within the industry is more viable than promoting a complete shift towards plant-based diets, as it allows or sustainable practices while meeting human dietary preferences. The debate surrounding animal rights extends beyond the realms of domesticated animals to encompass wildlife conservation. Advocates argue for the preservation of natural habitats, the protection of endangered species, and the avoidance of practices that harm ecosystems. They argue that animals have an intrinsic value and an inherent right to exist independent of their utility to humans. They promote measures such as stricter environmental regulations, habitat conservation efforts, and reduced human encroachment on natural spaces. Opponents, however, caution against excessive conservation efforts and argue for a more pragmatic approach. They assert that human needs must be prioritized, and utilitarian considerations should guide wildlife management. They contend that some animal species, particularly those that pose threats to human safety or agricultural interests, require population control measures. They advocate for responsible hunting, culling programs, and the maintenance of a balance between ecological preservation and human welfare. The animal rights debate is a complex and multifaceted issue that stretches across various domains, from ethics and law to culture and economics. It forces us to confront our relationship with animals and consider how they should be treated within our ever-changing world. As society continues to evolve, so too will the discourse surrounding animal rights, shaping the way we perceive and interact with the creatures we share our planet.